time, mother, so you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time, brother, stop dying? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one earth, with one need, we gotta learn to live together. Peace in peace. One loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alive. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time, brother, stop dying? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurts, with one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace in peace, make peace. Alright, make peace, peace together. Peace.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me on Shadow Chasing Show. I'm your host, Derrick Whiteskycloud, and yes, you'll be seeing me on the 2 chat rooms, which is actually on YouTube as well as Facebook. I'm shifting back and forth. You guys are in the chat room. Just you'll have to jump back and forth a lot because YouTube went after me again. I got striked. I'm telling you guys, every week I get striked by YouTube. No, can't say that. No, these are the rules. Can't say that. No, these are the rules. You can't speak out. You can't say these certain words. So now they're watching me very closely, and not just me alone. There's many guys like me out there And we're trying to say we just basically want to speak our have the freedom of speech and say what we want. But according to YouTube, you're not supposed to say anything. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of heads up. What you guys may not know, my wife and I were driving home today. We're actually not driving home. We're driving out. We're going to get some groceries and things. And she was mentioning of one of the lumber companies that had closed and basically joined Rona. Basically, what happens is that the lumber company called Rona got bought out. And so they now are no longer Canadian owned. We've actually lost the very last of our Canadian owned company of Canada. So now it's owned by United States, by the Americans. So pretty well everything we have as far as a large corporate business that relates to Canadian made, it's been around for more than 80, 90 years, are gone. Everything pretty well is gone. It's all owned by the Americans. So they bought everybody. They bought them all. Okay. Now, the thing is that the company that bought them let's put it this way. My wife and I did some research on the company itself that bought Rona. And sure, it's a company that bought it, but there's the derivatives go further back. And I said to my wife, I wonder if BlackRock is connected to any of these companies. Yes. Now, my wife also said, if you may not know this, folks, if you may not know who BlackRock is, they're the largest, biggest corporation in the world. They control everything in the world pretty well, monies wise. They're trillionaires. It's a trillionaire company. They own Google. They own Yahoo. They're shareholders, and they're pretty well the largest shareholder of Yahoo, Google, Facebook, and pretty well almost every social network, except not Telegram, not Rumble, which is great. But like I said, BlackRock has got his nose in it. If you guys ever want to type in the word BlackRock and see what these guys have done, what they're worth. I mean, the thing is that they're also involved in ARMS, supplying to foreign countries. So you'll see more. There's more to this. Okay. But now, why I brought this up, it's because we have our countries now, we begin to lose Canada. We begin to lose anything is Canadian made. If there's anything that's Canadian made, it will be mostly mom-pop businesses now that are Canadian made, that are born, raised in Canada, that are Canadian made. No matter what ethnic background, you're born here, whatever, if you make a product and you're selling it that's Canadian made, you're pretty well your own personal Canadian made company, right? Whether you become a company or not, the fact is you're Canadian made, owned, crafted, designed, whatever, you're the only ones left. All the larger corporations are pretty well sold. We lost Tim Hortons. We've lost pretty well anything that's Canadian owned earlier years back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They're gone. Yeah, we lost Rona. Rona was the very last. We had two kinds of lumber companies. And I never thought that Rona ever would sell out. And they were based out of Montreal. And for some reason, and I don't know why, possibly could have been the big C that caused them to break it down, or they couldn't survive. They're based out of Montreal, Canadian owned. They were around for about 90 plus years. And then they got offered money, lots of it, in the billions. And this company comes in and took them all, bought them all, gone. So now we are no longer under a Canadian brand. We don't have Canadian brands anymore. Pretty well, it's American made, or even, you never know. It could be China made and just sent to American company and say, here, you're going to buy this. So we've got this happening. Some of you are actually coming in late. Nice to see you guys and hear you guys. Yes, I came on late because it's not because I was late. It's because I was fighting YouTube. I was having a hard time getting in. They were not allowing me to do anything because they gave me a strike about my room, and they're giving warnings. And I basically, when you start giving them the code, military code called 13919, and said, "Look, guys, enough is enough. Stop using that crap on me because you guys need to be notified. Back off." And they left me alone. So what they're doing now, they're just taking it down without even. They were going to lock me out. They weren't going to allow me to come back in. Basically, that's mostly what YouTube does. If you get 3 strikes, you're gone. They must have got me at least 20 times now. I'm not kidding you guys, 20 times. I should be not even allowed to come into to YouTube, but for some reason, I just keep on fighting back, and I give them a warning, show them what I've got, and I'm back in here. So Derrick Johnson's helping us. Okay, there's another fellow named Derrick too. His name is Derrick Johnson, and he shows the military codes, and I'm learning from his military codes. And I just drop a few numbers in there, and I say, "Hey guys, if you're going to try and come after us, here's what you do." That helps a lot. Helps, gives us support that we are the only ones left. I mean, this is what our commander in chief had said, that those that are out there now today, those patriots, we are the patriots. We are what's left now to be speaking the truth. The mainstream media, sure, I work for a radio station myself, but I work with the radio station because it's not a corporation. We are independent, but a totally separate. I do the totally separate show on that. But what I normally do, I have, like I said, I have my shows on Thursdays and my other show on Wednesday. And I actually do a lot of history, share history about our, not mine, but everybody else's historical background in Canada. And I love doing it. I love sharing Canadian history to people because we don't get that in the schools. So, because they took that away from the kids, those kids don't learn Canadian history anymore, and it's very, very little amount of it. They're really pushing hard some American history, and they used to share American history or Canadian history. They stopped doing that too. So what I try to do is try and take advantage of, on a Wednesdays, I try to take advantage of doing an hour's worth of Canadian historical narrating about the history in Canada and different people's lives that actually have walked and trekked and traveled across our country from, I would say, from the early 1800s all the way up through Canada, even earlier from the 1600s. And people may not realize that we have been fighting for, I've been looking back in history, and as far as our countries are concerned, not just Canada, but other countries, we have been fighting for the freedoms and the rights of our voice, our health, our physical freedoms. Every generation, it's almost like every second or third generation, we're always fighting for our freedoms. We already had our Second World War, we had our First World War, and not other wars between Korean and Vietnam wars. We've actually had Desert Storm and many other types of defensive wars all over the world. And there's so many of them. And a lot of men and women have given their lives to fight for your freedom. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to thank them. These people that chose to give their lives to help us to have our freedom. They are the ones that are sent out there to fight for our freedom, that we are still here. And now, if we don't have those soldiers out there, we need the at-home freedom fighters. And those are the ones that are on radio, television, internet, you name it. That's why our Canadian government is trying so hard, our Liberal government is trying so hard to remove our voice, to take it out. Now, This has been predicted. This has been actually not to predict. This actually has been set in play a long time ago from the movie itself. Okay, there was a movie that came out a few years back where, why do you think there was a fellow who wore this white mask with a grim look on his face, and he wore this mask, okay? And he did this in the movie itself, and that's based on the history of what they've been fighting for, that freedom since the 1600s. Okay. Sure, he was executed, but he fought for the freedom of the people. I mean, you can't just do this alone. It takes the people like all of us out there. Now, some of you may think, oh, we're crazy. Well, you know what? You may not realize it, but we need to open your eyes, folks. So those who don't want to see, you're going to have to open your eyes and start looking, because if you don't look around and see what's really in your backyard, or what's really in your front yard, or what actually is happening into your banks, your grocery stores, your food supplies. Do you know who controls all of your food supplies right now? It isn't just Bill Gates. It's BlackRock. They control your food supplies. They control your money. They control everything. BlackRock. They're the major trillionaires. They're the major controllers of what you can have, what you can't have. Okay? So, like Key says, in 1884, 500 Canadian Métis from the West went to the River Nile, or Nile River, for Nelson. Okay? I'm not sure that was about Fort Nelson. But anyways, there are so many different varieties of history that we all relate. Now, that's just the Métis. And now there's even people that are from the European countries that came here to this country. And because if you look at it, England is a very small, little tiny speck of a country. Okay, there's so many people that they can only handle so much. Let me give you guys a little bit of Canadian history, or some British history. What I've learned in England, from England, it is illegal to be poor. There's actually a law in England that's illegal to be poor. If you were poor, you go into a prison camp. Did you know that? That law still stands. If you are a poor person, they put you in a prison camp, and you have to work laboriously to live there. Okay? This is what happens in England. So this is why I'm trying to let you guys know this. People escaped England. They escaped Scotland, Ireland for their freedom. They escaped from the European countries, came to a big, huge country called Canada. Okay? Before they called Canada, it's called Kanata, spoken by the people of the first peoples of the East Coast. They're the ones that welcomed us here, our ancestors here, for a reason. They didn't just welcome you, say, here, take us away, hide us away, and you can live here and do whatever you want. That's not what it's about. People came here for their freedom, so they would not be forced to work in a work camp. They wanted their freedom, to have a life of their own, to find a way to survive, and they had to take a chance. Nobody knew what Canada was like. They call it, because basically they saw it being a wild country. They didn't know. They didn't know that Canada had some, that actually wasn't, not just because they can't say it wasn't civilized. It was civilized. But that's how they understood it. That's how they saw civilization. Okay? That's how they saw civilization. And they had to try to figure out where they fit in. Sure, they met up with all types of First Nations people, different tribes, from all over. And they found themselves to associate or to migrate, to find their own place, whether they want to work with the First Nations people or not. They became hunters, fishermen, and then they became basically their own merchants, mercantiles, and then there was other people came across, and they started doing some business from across the waters to bring this into this country. Now, I'm not going to give you all of that story, but what it really means is that, did anybody try to control foods here? No, they didn't. They wanted to supply people food. They wanted to supply people goods. They weren't trying to control your goods, except it was the Hudson's Bay Company, okay, which, by the way, is owned by BlackRock. Hudson's Bay Company then actually tried to control everything, even the food supplies. Even they themselves too even tried to pass a law that it was illegal to sell pemmican. And all pemmican is actually, folks, is a dried buffalo meat with berries in it, which is very nutritious, very healthy, and that's what people, and yet they were trying to stop. That's why they had to call the pemmican wars between the Hudson's Bay Company and Northwest Trading Post, because the Northwest Trading Post was giving, and that was American owned, and they were given more freedoms to all people to hunt, fish, and sell to them. And the Hudson's Bay Company got jealous of this, and they tried to get some laws passed. But they also were stealing land from people without acknowledging the First Nations people. And they're saying, "Oh, this is our land. We own it. It's not yours." They kicked them off. So Hudson's Bay Company was very, very greedy. Very greedy. And I will use the word EVIL. They were not as nice as you think they were. And they were involved in a lot of nasty things. In fact, they tried to manipulate people back then regarding what you're allowed to have, what you could not have. If you want to be a hunter and you want to get a rifle, which is a black powdered rifle, which is much longer than the ones you have normally now, and if you want to get your black powder rifle, you had to hunt a whole bunch of beaver, which stacked up with a press, is a beaver press that stood on top of a sales counter, and they would have to be at the same level height. All these flat beaver pelts, same height as the height of the rifle, and that doesn't count your bullets. So you had to add other furs to cover your bullets. And the bullets were not bullet. They were actually round balls of lead. And you had to have the tools, and you had to have and there wasn't sugar back then. There was salt and flour and whatever they were able to bring in. So the thing is that Hudson's Bay Company was the very first people that controlled the food industry. Okay, they try to force a rum tab on people who were of not white, but they forced a rum tab on people who were actually were First Nations or Métis people, anybody of any kind of other type of mixed blood, and they forced a rum tab on them to pay for it. So the rum tabs were normally about $5. $5 is almost like $50. So that person who actually paid for the rum tab, even though they never drank, they would say, "Okay, I'll pay for the rum tab," and the next thing you know, they put and make another rum tab. Hudson's Bay was not a good person. They were not in a good company. Even though you tried to say, and folks, HBC is Hudson's Bay Company. Okay, they're notorious, but they wanted to be exclusive. Now, why I'm bringing this up, because it all relates to food shortages and what you're allowed to have and not allowed to have. And this is what the Hudson's Bay Company was doing this from the way in the beginning of between the 1700s to the 1800s, even further. They were trying to control the food industry, and then later on a supply industry, because they pretty well basically pushed out the Northwest Trading Post. They were trying to make it where they're exclusive. And then they tried to control land ownership, and they tried to force people off their own land, so they can take it over in different territories. And we're not allowing anybody to even have stores, even mercantiles. And they're saying, hey, and the only way you can have a mercantile is if you created your own small town. So once you created the name of a town, and then you have your own mercantiles, and Hudson's Bay Company cannot say approve or disapprove. But they got themselves in trouble many times. Okay, they did. They got themselves in trouble many, many times. So now I want to let you guys know this, because it's very, very important that it's all based on Canadian history. And I'm not going to go into this Métis thing or First Nations thing. It has nothing to do with that. What I'm talking about is Canadian history. It's so important. People have given their lives trekking across Canada. Absolutely. There's one book called The Overlanders. If you get a chance, get this book called The Overlanders. These are people that actually followed the Gold Rush trail all the way from the east coast of Canada from the very beginning, okay, back in 1856. And they follow the Gold Rush Trail. There's 1,400 wagons from regular common wagons, 4 wheels, to even Red River carts, and traveled all across Canada. It took them 3.5 months. Not everybody got there. To Barkerville, British Columbia. Not everybody got there. No more than 200 wagons. The rest of them either actually were forced to stop or camp, or they couldn't go any further. They decided to migrate to the location and say, okay, we're going to live here. Some actually died and perished because they were leaving at the time they left, as in during the cold winter weathers. And a lot of them suffered and died and perished, and some got jealous of each other, and they shot and killed each other. They were because they're fighting for the food. Some even went as far as there was even one part there was a couple of guys, 3 guys, that the food was so scarce and it was so cold in the winter that one guy shot the other fellow, and they took off his leg and ate his leg so they can eat. They actually became cannibals. Okay. And the thing is, the Semiahmoo peoples watched this from a distance. They were eating their own kind. And they got upset, and they took the lives of all those 3 men that actually killed each other, because to them that was evil, what they had done to each other. So Key says the HBC charter was in Rupert's Land. This was all the waters that flowed into Hudson's Bay. Yes, and Rupert's Land actually is part of the Hudson's Bay, part of Canada. Okay, we have when back then those years was called Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Everything from the East Coast up to Alberta, Saskatchewan, and then anything to BC down is called Lower Canada. Okay, so Keith is a great historian. He knows his stuff too, and I've had Keith on my shows before. So the thing is that what we're doing, what I'm talking about, folks, is that there have been so many. This is not something new that they're trying to create a food shortage even to this day. This is a replay. This is a continuous replay from history, even as far back as the 1800s or even early 1900s. And 1882, okay, and I will say the word number 1880, year 1882, okay, where my grandfather came here to Canada as an orphan. Okay, both him and his 2 siblings came here to Canada as an orphan. He was only 10 years old. Now, he was not an orphan at first. His mom did not give him up, which is my great grandmother. She did not give them up. She got them to take care of him at the orphanage called the Dr. Bernardo's orphanages, to take care of him and the kids until she got better. She was sick, and she didn't want to get her kids sick. And she was a very well-known, I'm not going to say the word seamstress, but she used to make mantles. And she had large cloaks for women, but she worked in the high-end industry to sew. She was very, very good at it. I learned some of my great-grandmother's techniques. I've never learned it from her personally, but I've seen similar things that she had made from her work. And so I started I made a mantle for someone recently. I was commissioned to make, and I felt so proud of myself. And I said to myself, great grandma, I hope you were very proud of me. I made my very first piece for this people, right? So the thing is that what I'm trying to bring up, trying to share this with you folks, is that a lot of people have, when my grandmother, she came back to get her kids back after she got better, after I think it was around 6 weeks or so, her kids were gone. There were over 150,000 children that were sent out to Australia, to Canada, as well as the United States, to be taken, not adopted. They were taken and used as slaves. Farm slaves, city slaves, servants. That's what they did. You were not of Irish background or another ethnic background. You were a child, and that's exactly what they did. The Dr. Bernardo's orphanages. And my grandfather had 2 siblings that he knew of at the time, or I guess I knew of, that, which was his brother and his sister. Now, I met both of them when I was a kid. And But I found out later, many years later, before my mom left this world in 2007, that uh, there were three other siblings that were also. So I didn't know. My grandfather, in total, there were six kids that my grandmother had. I did not know. Six children that she had, but she worked very hard for the six kids. Her husband died of um, pneumonia. And don't forget, folks, they didn't have, heaters and all that kind of stuff. That was very hard to survive in England. And I think it's like I said before, living in a small city, in a small little tiny island. Think about it, folks. This is congested. Everything and the what life was like back in the late 1800s was difficult, or even mid 18 or early 1800s. They didn't have all those accommodations, those kind of things. But my great grandmother worked hard to see if she could make it. She did not want to see herself in the poorhouse, because again, you'd be in a work camp, and she did not want to see her kids go into work camp. So she put them in Dr. Bernard's orphanages to hold them. But that's actually what orphanages do. They don't hold the children, they ship them out. And I've actually talked to many people through the years that their relatives were also shipped out and sent out across the world. And I've got a cousin that lives in Australia. Okay, a second cousin lives in Australia, and she's also part of that family, and they're living there. So, and again, part of my ancestry goes even further more. So, I mean, there's more than that. I mean, it gets crazier and crazier all the time. Like he says, the Selkirk land grant was mostly for settlers. Lord Selkirk was mostly the Red River. Yeah. So there's so many things that, and it was called the Hudson's Bay land grants. So people were giving land grants. But again, if you are able to work the land, and they used to say too, they'll give you I think it was 80 acres of land, and you had to, and a lot of that land was rocky. And if you can work the land within 2 years, then it's your land. If you can't work the land, the government takes it back from you. So they found a way of doing it. It's 2 years or 5 years, one of the two. But that's exactly what they would do. And even to this, when I was a kid, my dad told me there was a place up in Alberta. There was an area heading towards Saskatchewan that the government was offering people to work the land there. They were offering them 80 acres of land there. If they can work and get all the rocks off that land, this land's theirs for free. If they can't move those rocks, it's not their land no more. Well, let me tell you something, folks, which you may not know. Today, any of you did work that land, however, how many buildings you put on it, the government still tells you what you can or cannot put in your house. Did you know that? If you have two houses on your land, you cannot have a sink or a bathroom in that house. You can only have one house with whatever amount of sinks you have in there, whatever, one bathroom, two bathrooms in one house. Whatever you put in there is yours. But if you have a second house on the land and you want to make that into a workshop with a bathroom and a sink, they won't let you. And Alberta has passed the law that you cannot have any more extra buildings on the land unless they give you permission. Why? Why should a government have the right to take that right away from you? If that's supposed to be your land, it's your land. But what they have done, which we do not know, it's never been your land. It's their land. They tell you what you can and cannot and can or cannot have. So this is reason why you have to stand up against your federal government and your provincial government. Say enough is enough. My brother-in-law lives in it's outside of Airdrie in Alberta, and he has an extra barn there, and he wanted to put a shower and a sink and a tub and a kitchenette in there in this barn. So then, because he works in there all the time, why? You just need to walk and trek about 100 feet to your house to shower, which actually, if your barn's right there, you can change before you come back into the house. The town council said you're not allowed to have any access, any of that sort of thing on your land. Why? because they chose to. There's no law, but they're saying you can't, or they give you a ticket or fines. Here's the thing, folks. You need to tell your government to go kiss a duck, and then they can take the duck and shove up the rear end. Because this is what's happening. I remember years ago when I was a kid, we didn't have those rules. You can have as many barns, as many showers and bathtubs and any of the buildings on the same land. Nobody cared. But all of a sudden, these little pieces of groupies that become new owners or new groups or new government officials decided to say, hey, you can't have this, you can't have that. We want to take this away from you. And they're also trying to say now, we don't want you to have anything, but you need to be happy. We don't want you to own anything, but you need to be happy. We want you to give up all of your children, and you need to give them to us, and you'll be happy. We don't want you to have anything, and you'll be happy. We want to tell you what you can eat, and you'll be happy. We want to tell you how much what you drink, and you'll be happy. They're telling you what you can or cannot. We're going to tell you how much money you're allowed to spend, and you'll be happy. We're going to tell you how we can control your bank account. You're going to be happy. We're going to tell you when you can drive and not drive, you'll be happy. We're going to tell you when you fly, if you want to go somewhere, another part of the world, we'll tell you when you can go and not go. But if we say you can't go, and you should be happy. That's what they're doing. Your government now is doing this to you now. They're starting in now on this. They're changing your freedoms. And I'm using the word, if you look at the titling of my story at the beginning called Freedom, F-R-E-E in capital letters and D-U-M-B, freedom, because basically that's what it is. They're taking that from you, and if you want to feel, you're feeling they're making you feel like you have no power, and then they threaten you. Your government likes to threaten you. They'll play the game, and this is their game. This is what they do. They'll say, if you don't do as I tell you, if you don't follow this rule, then you're going to go to jail. Or we're going to give you a fine, and the fine will be $15,000. And then we might consider sending you to jail too. Or we'll put you in an internment camp and we'll keep you there for 6 months. Who in the hell do they think they are? We've got so many new internment camps that have been built already 5 years ago before the big C. They were already being prepped for the non-snake-bitten people to go there. That was their goal. That was their plan before this whole thing, this whole shamago came down. They were going to put us in those camps if we didn't abide by their rule to line up like everybody else, like every other cow. If we didn't line up like the rest of those cows, then you go into the camp until you get brainwashed. Okay. Now, do I think this is happening now? No, it's not happening now, but you're going to start hearing the repeat bullshit from those people, and Trudum, the fake one, is trying to replay the game again. Now, why I'm bringing this all up, because 2 days ago, okay, let's go into 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I'm watching this young man. He's a fabulous person to share. He shares his information daily from Parliament. Now, Pierre Poilievre and his cabinet, conservative cabinet, they're actually trying to stand up for the rights of all of us right now. And he's trying to share, telling Trudeau himself in cabinet, like, hey, how come, and he mentioned BC, he mentioned British Columbia. Why are you allowing all the drugs, all the illegal drugs now to be legal? Anything, not by quantity, it's not even by quantity anymore. You can sell it. He's telling them, like Trudeau says, you can sell it. Here, overdose each other. I don't care if you sell it, go ahead. Because you know why? People may not realize, but Trudeau actually is part of that supply. He invested in anything to do with DRUGSs. Okay? That's why they call him wacko. And now there is a true meaning of the word wacko. Wacko does not mean one thing only, that you're insulting one person. It's actually, if you look at it, the way they broke it down. Now I've got many, and I'm going to explain this part to you. So, let's see, where did I put it? Oh, why did it do that? Okay, let's bring this up. Come on. Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay. So now, like I said, 2 days ago, and what our now he's a member of the Conservative Party, but here's the problem. What happened was when Polyev had to rephrase the word wacko into something else when he's saying this to Trudeau. Now the leader of the House, Greg Fergus, said to Pierre Polyev, "You have to retract that, apologize, and rephrase it." Oh, he retracted and he rephrased it. He retracted and he rephrased it. Retracted and rephrased it. Here's the crazy part of it. This is the House leader, the Speaker of the House. What he had done was he reached over and had this paper already prepared. He already knew he wanted to get rid of Polyev. He wanted Polyev out because I'll tell you why. Because I watched Greg Fergus. Listen to me carefully, folks. I watched Greg Fergus in Parliament, and now he's supposed to be the Speaker of the House. He looked towards Trudeau, and Trudeau stuck out his tongue. That signaled him. Then to Polyev, and they grabbed the paper, and he kicked him out of Parliament. He kicked him out of Parliament and not to return for 24 hours. Now, not so even though Polyev was removed from Parliament, then the rest of the cabinet followed him. And then two more cabinet ministers stayed behind, two Conservatives, and one from the Lethbridge Conservative. That young lady stayed behind, and she was talking to, again, Greg Fergus. Greg Fergus insulted her, kicked her out. Now, then there was another man that spoke up for the remaining of the people, and then Greg Fergus kicked him out. Here's the thing, folks. They call it blues. Now, there's actually a thing on the website. Whenever you say things, it's already copied, typed up, and goes on the screen. Shows you what the person had said. What it really pissed me off, and I will say this, the Speaker of the House kept turning off the volume. Why? Not because he did not want to hear the Liberals speaking anything. He turned off the volume. He didn't want to hear the Conservatives saying anything from the background. He was turning off the volume or turning off the sound to the Conservative side. Why? Because he didn't want you, the viewers, to listen what they're saying in Parliament. That is wrong. You do not have the right as the Speaker of the House to turn off the volume from the public to hear what they had said. Okay. Here's what happened. Everything that was supposed to be written on the screen, okay, we get to go to the page and see it. I can't remember what they call it. It's called blues, something or other. They go there and you check everything that's actually was supposed to be spoken. Well, apparently, whoever the person was. Now, the only time that anything has to be rewritten has to be the only two people can actually change the wording or remove some of the wording out of the list, out of the recorded in the Parliament, and that is two people can have those certain words removed out of that, and that is the Speaker of the House and Justin Trudeau. Now, those two can have those words removed, but if they do, it's considered treason. So there are what Greg Fergus grabbed that prepared paper of the rules, and he kicked out the conservative leader out of Parliament. This is 2 days ago. All because he used the word wacko. And he just says Trudeau's wacko. Now, here's what Trudeau had done. Trudeau turned around and called him even worse names to him. Now, did Craig Fergus tell him that he has to retract it? No. He allowed it to be spoken, and he smiled. Fergus smiled and allowed Trudeau to insult Poilievre. Why? Because they are close buddies. You guys may not realize Trudeau and Fergus are close buddies. He was so when he got chosen, electively chosen as one of the speakers of the House, he was so happy. Okay, Trudeau was so happy that he was there because he knows very well he can get away with anything in Parliament, and he did, because every time the Speaker of the House looks towards Trudeau, he smiles. But when he turns to, if you watch carefully, look at the expression in their faces, folks. Look at the expression in their faces. And when Fergus looks towards Poilievre, straight smile, not a word. This is favoring. Okay? That's called treason. Anything that's been removed, anything redacted, has been taken out. Sure, it's all scripted. But I'm showing you folks to pay attention to what they are doing. Now, I'm going to show a few pieces on here for you guys to see this on the screen. If you haven't seen it yet, good. But this is the reason why I'm trying to show you it's important that we need to bring awareness to our country. And then they kept talking about the gun laws. Trudeau kept bringing up the gun laws. Oh, we're going to do this. We've already done this. We've already done that. We've already done this and already done that. So when Poilievre, and I remember Trudeau kept accusing Poilievre, saying, oh, well, he's going to recant all the laws. He's going to give back everybody all the rights, and he's going to give back people all their weapons, and blah, 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 blah. And so they asked Poilievre, are you going to give back their weapons? He says, how can I give back their weapons? Because the law hasn't been passed yet. So it's still their weapons. It has nothing to do with me. Trudeau and he actually asked Trudeau, how many weapons have you collected? How much money? He spent billions of dollars. I think it's about 60. I think I could be wrong. 60 billion or $16 billion to basically put this whole program together to collect these guns, these weapons. And not one weapon has been collected yet. Not one. But where's that money going? I don't think that money actually went for collecting the weapons. I think that money went to going to another foreign country, which he has been supplying money for our country, and it's called Ukraine, because he's helping them. He's helping Zelensky. I know it. I just get this feeling he's helping Zelensky. But before that, I'm still saying I believe that Trudeau, and right now I believe Fergus should be taken down. Fergus should be charged for treason because he's committed treason already. He's not given anybody allowed to speak words. Fergus is actually very abusive in his position. He's not even following the rules himself. He's making decisions on his own. And he's not even apologizing himself. And in fact, he insulted the Lethbridge, a woman's name. I can't remember her name. He knows her name. He knew her name well, but he used her name and her last name and insulted her last name. And she was like in shock. And he says, you know her, who she is. He never even said a word. He never corrected himself. He just went, get her out of here. Like it was not a true act. That's the reason why we are going through so many House speakers, because every House speaker has been favoring Trudeau. Every one of them. There's no such thing as bias. Being in the middle and you're just passing, if like you're just saying, okay, this, and this. There's no more bias. He's favoring Trudeau. We can see it. They're always signaling each other. You can see it. As soon as he goes to Trudeau, he smiles. Because he knows. And Trudeau wants him to get rid of Poilievre out of the way. He wants to make Poilievre look like an idiot. He's using his power trip. That's what this is, folks. It's a power trip. It's control. And some people saying, oh, our country's going to shit. I'm not going to say that, but you need to see the truth. Okay? And like Catherine says, every leader in governments are selected, no vote, and has ever been counted, or it's been sent out to be laundered and pocketed. Well, you know what? I will say this to you, and I'm sure you guys will agree. I've never really seen a true politician really win an election, a true elective winning. When you know you should see someone be electively and win, then they're saying, wait a minute here, all these people lined up to get this person to win. All of a sudden that other person didn't win and they became prime minister. How the hell that happened? Because the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, they're the ones that tell these guys, you're going to win. We're going to make sure you win. So people can do all the voting all they want, but you're going to be the one that's going to take the position. The next position is prime minister. And that's how Trudeau got in. This was all the same. It's the same thing what Trump went through. When Trump wanted to go for this, take the second round and he lost, how in the hell did he lose? Because the voting programming was made in Canada, and this is Trudeau's same thing. Trudeau shouldn't have won, but Trudeau did it when we were on lockdown. And he made sure that we did not were unable to get to the voting booths. He made sure that no one can actually, he wanted people to do it online. Well, you can't just do it online because those things can be manipulated easy. It should be physical voting in a ballot box where your scrutineers are there and they witness all this. That's it. But here's what your Biden or your Trudeau wanted. They wanted no one to appear in any location to vote. They want you to basically online vote. And even our one-time mayor, okay, here in Surrey, before Brenda Locke, he wanted to do online voting, not ballot box voting, because he knew he would win, because he can actually screw it up. That's how they do it. Nancy says Junior is out in the open and he is giving interviews on Awakened Stories YouTube. He published a book available on Amazon, Stolen Identity. Woohoo! Thank you for Nancy. Thank you. Okay, what I'm going to do, let's see here. Let's swing in. Okay, I want to talk about this first. It says Poilievre demands wacko, use that word wacko, Trudeau, refused Toronto's request to decriminalize hard drugs. This is what Poilievre wanted. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has sent a letter to Justin Wacko Trudeau demanding that he refuses the city of Toronto's request to decriminalize hard drugs like BC, British Columbia. The city of Toronto has sought your permission to legalize hard drugs, and as you did in British Columbia, I'm writing you to demand that you reverse your support for legalizing crack, cocaine, heroin, meth, and other hard drugs, and to reject the city or Toronto's request. Poilievre's letter reads, in British Columbia, Poilievre continues to, he says your dangerous hard drug legislation experiment has caused chaos in hospitals. He's right. David Eby, who's also an idiot, finally admitted last week that indeed drug overdoses and drug use in general has never been a bigger issue in British Columbia than it is today. And David Eby is our premier in BC, and he's an idiot. So he's all for the same crap. So it gets to be monotonous. Okay. Then he says also, In fact, it's gotten so bad that EB has had to reverse course as hospitals overflow with drug users, and many of whom will light up or shoot up in the hospital while awaiting treatment without any fear of repercussions, forcing nurses to be exposed to crack smoke and other drugs while trying to do their jobs. It's true, even when women are pregnant. You decided to ignore all evidence when you granted the BC NDP's request for legislation of hard drugs, and in doing so, have contributed to a wave of overdose deaths. Poilievre said, since you formed government, more than 42,000 Canadians have died of drug overdoses, and in British Columbia alone, there has been a nearly 400% increase in drug overdose deaths, and EB does not need the feds to act, but he can do it himself, and the province has the authority. And here's the thing, folks, I am around it. When I'm actually near our radio studio, which is downtown Hastings in Columbia, I've walked over a few dead bodies from walking out of our studio doors outside, and that's normal. Almost every week I'm walking over a dead body or two because they overdose in front of our place. It's normal on the streets of Vancouver off of Hastings. And it's not people of my age. These are kids. These are kids between 12 and 25 that are overdosing. Okay? Overdosing. So I see this all the time. I remember even my best friend Dale can tell you, he used to live in that, it's close to that area in Vancouver. When I was driving him with me to the studio, and he sat in my car on the driver's side, and he was literally in tears. He said he could not believe what Hastings in Vancouver downtown looks like. I mean, he couldn't believe it, how Hastings in the area, how it looks. It looked like like a tent encampment of people that are homeless, because most people that were homeless, I would say 4 years ago, were not homeless. 4 or 5 years ago, they were all had apartments. But when China came in from its own country, okay, China came in and bought all the hotels downtown. Like, they bought all of the hotels that were once considered as co-op apartments for the people that can only afford X amount of price of rent. The city allowed China to buy all the apartments, or buy all the high rises, and they're going to knock the high rises, the old hotels. There was 4 of them, and they knocked them down. But they were forcing the people to leave, and next thing you know, they had nowhere to go, and they became homeless. Now, I'm not saying 90% of people were drug addicted. 20% of the people are drug addicted, and the rest of 70% are out there trying to find a place to live. Okay? They're trying to find a place to live. And this happens in Vancouver all the time. They averaged out back 5 years ago, there was maybe no more than 250 people that were living on the street that were homeless. We now have officially over 3,000 homeless people in Vancouver off Hastings and the area of where our radio station is at. 3,000, and it's going bigger and bigger. There's more and more people now. They're living in campground. They're living in parks. They're living off under bridges, wherever there's overpass, and they're trying to find create their own encampments, especially in the cold weather winters. What happens is we've got not just the Vancouver City Police, but not the RCMP. RCMP want nothing to do with it. They let these guys camp. But the Vancouver City Police, and this is because there's a brand new mayor who everyone said, how in the hell did he become the mayor? He's from China. He hasn't been living here for 20, 30 years. He just moved here from China and became the mayor of Vancouver. How in the hell did he get in? Nobody knows who he is. He just got in and he's like, I'm mayor. Right? He could take over. He took over. And then next thing you know, what he decided to do, he sent the Vancouver City Police and the Department of Wildlife Services to go to the parks and to remove all of the tents from all these peoples that were living and sleeping in them, while they're trying to stay warm. They would pull them out of their tents, drag them out, and they take all the tents away and throw them in the dumpsters, like throw them in the garbage trucks. Brand new tents. These guys are given and donated tents to basically try to survive and stay warm in the winter. Everyone was forced back on the street in the cold. And then there were another 30% of them. There was actually 10 school buses that they weren't volunteering to go. They were grabbed by the Vancouver City Police, pushed into the school buses, driven all the way down to Chilliwack, dropped off there. The mayor of Chilliwack is livid. He's so pissed off because this Vancouver City cops dropped all those people off, the homeless people off in Chilliwack, and said, don't come back. Now the Chilliwack mayor is pissed off because this is what by the orders of the Vancouver mayor. They're trying to play the same game. I told you, folks, they're trying to play the same game as what they did in the UK back in the earlier years. They're trying to get a law passed that it's illegal to be poor. And if you are poor, they're going to put you in an internment camp. You'll never get out. Once you're in, you're done. All you'll be doing is hard labor. That's what their goal is. So I'm trying to tell you guys straight up, be aware of this. Now, how can people stop being poor? You can't. As long as you keep on raising prices higher, as long as you let your prime minister, this one here, keep raising taxes on people, which basically these taxes are illegal. You know that, right? Because this is called the 1951, these are called the War Act tax. So this actually should have been over a long time ago, since 1951. We should not be paying taxes, period, because taxes are illegal. Because your taxes are actually our corporation taxes. It has nothing to do with the federal government. It's corporation tax. You're paying the corporate people. You're basically covering their income. You're paying for their any kind of money they need to make, their investments they're making. You're paying for their investments. You are born in their investments. When you're born, when you have a birth certificate, you are owned. You are a slave. That's how it works. If you look at your birth certificates right now, and it says Bank of Canada or Bank of USA or whichever bank you're going, all your birth certificate says the bank. Why would it say the bank? Because you are a slave and you're owned by the banks. They own you. You guys don't realize that. You're an investment. You're property. You're the slave. Now, you can remove yourself from that by not having to pay taxes if you don't want to. There are people I know right now that are not paying taxes. Some people have not been paying taxes for years, but they're not being chased down, says you can't have this. That's how they do it, right? Now, I'm going to go through some people that are making some comments in the chat room. Let's have a look. Farsight Institute Remote Viewing is running a series on subjects that I think will interest you, especially on the politicians worldwide and how the elections are being tampered with. That happened in Toronto in 1997. Homeless and paddy wagon pickup at night. Yes, Diane, that's true. In 1997. Nancy Volker, let's see, this is a worldwide across Europe, North America, Australia. This is all over, yes. Or on the one-way ticket to Vancouver in 1997, if on welfare. That's true now. So the thing is, like, we're getting people like that. And Catherine says, common law states federal taxes are only suggested, not enforced. That's true. Your common law states federal taxes are only suggested, not enforced. The thing is, that's why you never get people coming to your house. Sure, you have the IRS, for example, in the IRS, they come to your house and they're going to say, we're taking your money. Why do you think they come themselves the IRS? And why are people so afraid to comment about the IRS, like to say, make a joke about the IRS? If you made a joke about the IRS in the States, they come to your house next thing you know, you're behind bars. They take it as serious, but they're not a government. They're a corporation. There have been so many people that have served time in prison for not paying their taxes in the States. They're sent to jail because they're not paying their taxes. And yet they're great civil servants. They worked hard, 9 to 5, blah, 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 blah. And they've had 2, 3, 4 jobs. Nope, not enough. You're the slave. I'm not kidding you guys. This is exactly what's going on. And many people have actually, many people have actually said, there are the corporations, there's Hollywood, there's the corporations, and you're not part of it. You can be a real nice guy, you can dress up and wear a suit and look and walk up to a corporate person and say, I want to invest something in a business, and they'll say how much money you got first. And if you don't have more than $10,000, they won't look at you. Why? Because you're not making them money, making money for you, for him. He's the one that tells you yes or no, because he gets bonuses. These bankers, these managers of bankers, they get bonuses if they can help make you money. Okay. And if you are wanting to say, I want to get $50,000 for a start business, what do you got in your bank account? If I had $10,000, okay. Now they'll only give you $40,000 because you get $10,000 in your bank account. They're not going to give you all $50,000. They're smart. And if they do give it to you, it's placed there. It's not in your bank account. It's like a writ on a piece of paper. Okay. It's a writ. They'll never give you cash. So if someone says you want to buy something, or you want to sell or buy, I guess you want to buy into this business, and some people will say, well, I want to pay cash. Your banks today will not give you cash to buy into a business. They'll give you a writ. So something that they'll fill out a piece of paper saying, I owe you. Comes from the bank. So then the bank itself makes its money. And how they do is they take the writ, you give the writ to that person there who owns that company. Now they sell you the products, whatever, how you start your business. Now you're part owner, you could be even franchise. Same thing. You're a franchisee does not make you the owner of your company, because you still got to pay for the name brand, and you got to pay for what? The corporate name. You're paying for the licensing fees. You're only allowed to make X amount of dollars in your whatever company you own, or that you've invested in as a franchisee. And there's a friend of mine that actually was a franchisee for a Taco Time, and he had 3 or 4 of them. He said it was so hard he said he did really well in the company, but it was so hard to keep it going. But in the end, he realized after he wasn't happy. Why? Because it's not what he found. He realized after it's not him making the money. It's the franchise owners, okay, the guys who sold the franchise to you, the one who owns the company. They're the ones that are making more money than you are. You only get 40%. They get 60%. They own more than you do because you're doing them the favor by promoting a name brand. That's it. Think about it. Look at it carefully, folks. Look at it very carefully. If you want to promote something and sell something, do it yourself. If you start off as a mom and pop business, then do it yourself. If you want to learn how to really make it work, there's so many books, there's so many videos that people will show you how to do it, but don't join any freaking team and learn how to become this and that. That doesn't get you nowhere. You're paying on them money again to do it. Watch what other people are doing, or ask people like me how I got into my own business, how I became successful in what I did. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm successful at what I know, but I do it because I'm happy, because it's my business. It's called quality, not quantity. If you're worried about quality in your company, then follow it the way you want to do it. But if you want quantity, then you're working for a corporation, and you're not going to get the best quality. You try, but it's going to be the same product every day. You're going to get bored to death. It won't be the same. You know it. You'll find out after, I thought it was going to be more fun than this. Yes, it's hard for the first couple of years when you get into a business, but it's worth it. But it should not be hard to the point where you lose stress, like you get stressed at nighttime and can't sleep because you worry about something and not selling or whatever. I tell people, if you're not able to sell something, then recreate it. Find something in there that you think that people are not seeing, or you need to find a new way to recreate the presentation of it. That's easy. It's just simple, not so hard. That's the fun part. Catherine says the Queen's Bench only recognizes common law rights of Canada and not maritime law, and it applies to all courts of Canada. It's true. Why do you think we're called birth certificate? Birth is all to do with the waters. Okay. We're at the birth. They're actually the mothers. What does she do? The mother has a birth, the baby. She's birthing the baby. And when the mother is carrying the water. Get it? Same thing. Let's see. Nancy says, I just started collecting Social Security and I was shocked to find out that I'm placed on the second tier. What is that? That means I get my checks on the 12th and each month and instead of the 3rd or the 5th. Down the road, I will say this to you, Nancy, and many others. Down the road, within the next year, as far as I can, I will say this as I understand this. There will be a time that all of our pension checks, anybody who's on Social Security, the name Social Security is no longer going to exist, but it's going to double each month for all of us. It's going to double. That we are sitting more comfortable. So if you're getting an average, say, $2,500, $3,000 a month, you'll be getting $5,000 a month. It will come up, but Trudeau had nothing to do with it. Okay. Same with Canada or across the world. It's all going to be like everybody else. There are some countries that don't even have Social Security. Some countries don't even have pensions. Like China doesn't have pensions. Japan does not have pension. So that's the reason why all the grandparents, and maybe other countries, that's why all the grandparents are living with their kids, because there's no other way to survive unless they're working. So that's why the grandparents or even the parents are helping the families by cooking or whatever they can do for the family to keep the family running. That's how they work it. If you're hands-on in the restaurants, not 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. I used to own a restaurant when I was 19 years old, Nancy. And I lived in Alberta, and I had a restaurant, small cafe. We called it a highway cafe. I was 19 when I started it. I had so much interest, wanted to learn how to do it. I met a fellow by the name of Francesco, and he was a really cool guy. He was from Spain, and he actually owned no, from Spain. Sorry, take it back. Not from Spain, from Greece, and he actually had a restaurant called Mama Brava's, and I asked if he can show me how to how to do a restaurant. Like I told him I was interested in wanting to start my own small little cafe. So I worked for him for about 6 months to learn pretty well what to do. And this man had the knowledge. I mean, he was so good to me. He treated me like as if I was like his nephew. I learned how to do everything in the restaurant business pretty well, right down to the cooking sense of it. He showed me how to do presentation correctly, how to do the salad bars, you name it, how to serve. And I mean, he showed me everything, even about how to pour wine. He taught me the best of the best. He was one of the best in Greece. Like he had 3 restaurants in Greece. So he brought it to where he had a bigger restaurant in a small town where I was living, but he wanted to bring it there because he wanted to introduce Greek food. This is back in 1978, 77, 78. And so I learned from him for about 6 months. And then I told him I was offered an opportunity to get this restaurant. It's a trucker's cafe. And this guy went out of the business. Actually, no, sorry. There was no trucker's cafe. It was not working for about 10 years. Nobody was running it. So I said, well, I want to take it over. I'm make it a good cafe. So I did some renovations, made 2 horseshoe shaped countertops, stools, round stools, and then some side tables along the side. And so I think we had 6 side tables with chairs, just simple family, little small restaurant. So I worked it from I got there at 6 in the morning and we cooked until 6 o'clock at night. So we were open it to the truckers at 7 in the morning and we're done at 6 o'clock at night. Did it for 2 years. Now, within those 2 years, my parents come on board. My dad was very proud of the things that I was doing. He wanted to do the same thing as I was doing. Like my dad's a damn good cook. So he came on board and I said, Pop, you want to be a partner? We'll be a partner. So when dad became a partner, he became the original chef cook. And my mom helped out as well. So just the three of us. And so we ran it. And then within, I would say about 18 months, I wanted to do something else. Like I was like, okay, mom and dad are happy, or they are where they want to be. And I got out of the dairy at the time. That's the reason why all my money was from, because I got it from the farm, being on the dairy farm. So all my money accumulated, put in this restaurant. And I was 21 at the time when I left. And I said, my dad, I'm going to give this restaurant to you, Pop. This is yours. You're going to have it. I'm going to do something different. And my dad, because he became so famous in the restaurant industry, or in this restaurant because of his food, there was another town 10 miles away. They have a curling rink and they have it once a weekend on Saturday. They asked my father if he can open up, if he had time to open up a burger bar in the curling rink. And so my dad took that one night on a Saturday night, and he would come in right after the restaurants closed, go from one town to the next town in the curling rink, and he would actually sell burgers in the cafe for that one night of the week, each week. And my father was very famous with his burgers because he made really good burgers, and he was really good, great cook. So, the thing is that he was proud of that. He really enjoyed doing what he's doing. And that's what I was looking forward to. I'm like, I wanted to find out what it's like to own a restaurant and to run it. It is hard. It is very hard to do. And so I took that experience with me, those 2 years experience. And through the years, people have actually will say to me, this, and I show you how to, the proper way I was taught. But it was good to have that memory. So Diane says, if your hands, okay, okay, right here. Okay, Nat says, I'm living in the States. They come to Canada after retirement. I did as a teenager, a nightmare. Okay. I love cows. Okay. Nancy goes, I love cows. Yeah, I was a dairy farmer. I grew up as a dairy farmer as a kid. My dad grew up in the farm. Like when he grew up off the farm, and then we lived in the city, and then went to the farm, back to the farm again. My dad missed the farm. He wanted to get back into the farming. So I learned how to farm. I know more about cows. I can tell you stuff that would blow you away, and I do miss it. I do miss the farming because you can do whatever you want. Nobody tells you what to do. Like as far as running your own farm, that's it. Catherine says the bar association is also a corporation business and has nothing to do with the justice system or the courts. Yeah. So, the thing is that we do have different varieties of people that are involved in these industries. And like I said before, from the very, very beginning, folks, this is the reason why we have a wacko prime minister. And I'll agree. But I also do believe too, that for what I had witnessed here, the Speaker of the House, his name is Greg Fergus. He should be charged for treason. And it should be also with Justin Trudeau himself, because basically both these two should be charged for treason for what they've done to Pierre Poilievre. I think is very wrong. And then they redacted some of the stuff that actually happened in Parliament, which I think is very wrong. You don't redact it where people can't see what went on, what was actually heard. And then again, what Greg Fergus had done, which actually is the Speaker of the House, he actually turned off the volume so the public would not hear what was spoken in Parliament. I think is very wrong. He had no right to do that. That should never be turned off, period. Whether it got out of order or not, the fact is they have no say in the matter. Because it's the public has the right to hear and witness and see. He was going to place an order to have the cameras turned off as well. So this was going to be this Greg Fergus should be charged for treason, and this is worse than you think, folks. When he kicked up Pierre Poilievre out of Parliament because he actually carried on believing that Trudeau is a wacko, and it's true. If you listen to and watched all these videos, you're going to go like, holy crap, that's what he should have been done. a long time ago. So Polyev did come back the next day, which was today, and he was stronger behind his will. One of the ladies from Lethbridge South, she actually demanded that Fergus be to step down his position and speak as Speaker of the House, and she demanded an apology, and he refused. It's going to be really interesting. Yeah, and also Diane says he passed a bill on the day of eclipse before the budget. Okay, let's do something here. I'm going to bring in this young lady here. Now, let me swing it open. And I'm not going to have this played too long. I'm going to just give you an idea. Now, this is actually breaking news. This is Rachel Thomas returns, unveils altered House of Commons recording, denies consent. Now, this is where he kicked her out the day before, and then she came back today, and she's calling him out on his bullshit, like basically what he said he did or did not do. And I'm going to bring this up for you guys to watch. Okay, so this is it right here, and here's it. Now, watch and listen carefully. Watch his movement.
Interesting. And I will just point out that if we flip through them on this page here, you can see my words are kindly highlighted for you. Wow. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of privilege today regarding a significant discrepancy between what was published in the Blues and what was published in Hansard of yesterday. The question of privilege that I raise also has to do with how I was treated by the Speaker of this House and how I was further portrayed publicly. The discrepancy between the Blues and what was published in the Hansard is the omission of two words, two very important documented words, an exchange between the Speaker and me during question period yesterday. The Blues recorded the following statement by the Speaker. I quote directly: "If the honourable member for Lethbridge has problems with the chair, she should challenge the chair in a respectful way. But as the honourable member knows, challenging the chair is against the rules of this House. I ask the honourable member to please withdraw her remarks." To which I replied and rose in my space to say this, quote, "Mr. Speaker, I stated that the chair is acting in a disgraceful manner. I withdraw." In the Hansard recording, two words are missing, the words, "I withdraw."
Wow.
That said, it should be noted that it is reported in Hansard that at least one member did point out to the Speaker that these words, in fact, were spoken. It says under the heading, "An honorable other member," it says the following, quote, "She withdrew it." In the audio recording, many other members were heard drawing attention to this fact, asking for the Speaker to do the same. These words, Mr. Speaker, are significant because they demonstrate that I complied with the Speaker, your request to withdraw. It demonstrates that my withdrawal was not conditional, but rather it was proper and textbook. Therefore, it ought to have been accepted. Yet, I was kicked out of this place for the remainder of the day, as if I hadn't withdrawn those words, or to put it another way, as if Hansard recording of the event was accurate and true, when in fact, Mr. Speaker, we know it is not. If you were to check the audio recording, it clearly picked up the two words that are also recorded in the Blues. It is worth noting that in chapter 24 of Bosch and Gagnon, it states, quote, "The chamber is equipped with cameras operated from a control room, invisible from the floor of the House. The recording of the proceedings is governed by guidelines intended to preserve the concept of the electronic Hansard, as adopted by the House." The two words, Mr. Speaker, that were edited out of the Hansard essentially rewrote history, making the actions and procedure followed by the Speaker, you, appear proper and mine improper. As you know, I was removed from the chamber for the remainder of the day, and I was prohibited from being able to participate in debate or vote on behalf of the constituents who have sent me here. Therefore, the constituents of Lethbridge were robbed of having a presence and a voice in the House of Commons, their democratic right. It was especially egregious given the fact that there was a scheduled vote immediately following question period that day. If you go to the House of Commons site, the blues, unfortunately, are no longer available. Interesting. Which makes a person curious as to why. If you attempt to access the blues today, you will get this message, quote, "Blues are available while the House is in session until the Hansard is published." The blues are taken down. Luckily, though, Mr. Speaker, for you, I kept a copy of those blues that were sent to me yesterday at the end of the day, and I have them available to submit to you here.
Interesting.
And I will just point
Boom.
out that if we flip through them on this page here, you can see my words are kindly highlighted for you.
Wow. Obstruction.
Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, we are fortunate to also have access to the audio recording, which still exists and does not lie.
It's real funny, isn't it?
She is
Hilarious.
At pages 1228 to 1229 of the third edition of House of Commons Procedure and Practice, it states, quote, "The unedited in extenso transcripts of the debates at one time produced on blue paper continue to be known as the blues. Parliamentary publications staff send to each member who speaks in the House the transcription of the member's intervention. The blues are also published on the House of Commons internal website. The availability of the blues on the House of Commons internal website permits members and their authorized delegates to use the webpage or email to submit suggested changes for parliamentary publications editorial staff to consider. Members may suggest corrections to errors and minor altercations to the transcription, but may not make material changes to the meaning of what was said in the House." I'm going to read that part again because it's really important. They may not make material changes to the meaning of what was said in the House. So it's interesting then that the blues said one thing, but Hansard said another, and I did not ask for those changes to be made.
Treason.
The third edition of the House of Commons procedure goes on to say this: "It is a long-standing practice of the House that editors of the debates may exercise judgment as to whether or not changes suggested by members constitute the correction of an error or a minor alteration. The editors may likewise alter a sentence to render it more readable, but may not go so far as to change its meaning. Editors must ensure that the debates are a faithful reflection of what was said. Any changes made, whether by the members or editors, are for the sole purpose of improving the readability of the text, given the difference between the spoken and written word." End quote. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, I did not suggest any changes to the officials with regard to Hansard. Bosch and Gagnon state that the editors can make alterations, but cannot make changes that go so far as to change the meaning of what was said. In the case I raised today, the significant difference in meaning without these two words, "I withdraw," being published in Hansard obviously is very significant. On page 1229, it goes on to say, "When a question arises in the House as to the accuracy of the record, it is the responsibility of the Speaker to look into the matter. In this case, the edit, otherwise known as the deletion of two very significant words, is far more noteworthy than simply improving the readability of a sentence. I believe you'll agree. The justification used by the Speaker to admonish and remove me from the chamber does not match the evidence presented in the blues and by the audio recording that you may also access. The Speaker's actions do, however, fit very nicely with the altered text published in the Hansard. On page 82 of Bosch and Gagnon, it describes a list of items to be considered a contempt, and on that list is, quote, falsifying or altering any papers belonging to the House, end quote. At page 248 of Joseph Magnon's Parliamentary Privilege in Canada, second edition, it states, quote, "The House of Commons of Canada remains prepared to entertain legitimate questions of privilege where false or perverted reports of debates or proceedings are published," end quote. While this passage refers to inaccurate media reports of what was published in Hansard, it is no less offensive, and in fact, perhaps more offensive, that this happened right here in the House of Commons. At pages 81 to 83 of Bosch Gagnon, it states, and I quote, "Throughout the Commonwealth, most procedural authorities hold that contempts, as opposed to privileges, cannot be enumerated or categorized. Speaker Sauvé explained in a 1980 ruling, while our privileges are defined, contempt of the House has no limits. When new ways are found to interfere with our proceedings, so too will the House, in appropriate cases, be able to find that a contempt of the House has occurred. Just as it is not possible to categorize or to delineate every incident which may fall under the definition of contempt, it is also difficult to categorize the severity of contempt. Contempts may vary greatly in their gravity. Matters ranging from minor breaches of decorum to grave attacks against the authority of Parliament may be considered as contempts," end quote. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be debated or disputed that someone deliberately removed 2 words from the blues, and that these 2 words have great significance. It cannot be debated or disputed that it therefore changed the meaning of the events yesterday and the way that they would be interpreted, thus resulting in an inaccurate negative reflection of me, which was then broadcasted to my constituents and to all people across Canada. Furthermore, this inaccurate account of events resulted in my wrongful dismissal from this place by you, thus robbing me of the right to represent the constituents of Lethbridge here in the House of Commons and to cast a vote on their behalf, again, robbing them of their democratic right. Which leads to another aspect of privilege, and that is improper reflections upon a member. On October 20th, 1966, the member for Edmonton Strathcona rose on a question of privilege that came out of an article in Le Droit of October 14th by Marcel Pépin. He argued that the article imputed an improper motive to him and was a gross distortion of the facts of something that occurred in the House. The Speaker ruled the matter to be a prima facie question of privilege on October 24th, 1966. In my case, it is the Hansard that has recorded a gross distortion of the facts, an act that can be substantiated by the blues and the audio recordings of the procedures I referred to from yesterday, April 30th. I will give another example. On March 22nd, 1983, Speaker Sauvé ruled on a question of privilege relating to false and libelous accusations against the member for Lincoln that had been published in the Montreal Gazette. The Speaker felt that a reflection upon the reputation of an honorable member is a matter of great concern to all members of the House. And the Speaker said at that time, quote, "It places the entire institution under a cloud, as it suggests that among the members of the House, there are some who are unworthy to sit there. An allegation of criminal or other dishonorable conduct inevitably affects the member's ability to function effectively while the matter remains unresolved," end quote. Mr. Speaker, the matter I am addressing today is grave in nature and calls for your utmost attention. In summary, the matter I am bringing to your attention today has 3 components. 1, the Speaker's ruling to expel me from the House. 2, the improper alteration of the Hansard. And 3, the inaccurate reporting as to the role that I played here in this place. Mr. Speaker, if you rule this matter to be a prima facie question of privilege, I am prepared to move the appropriate motion today.
So what do you think happened after that? What do you guys think was going to happen? Will he apologize for what he had done, or would he say something else?
I thank the honourable member. I thank the honourable member from Lethbridge for raising this matter of question of privilege. I do encourage her, please, to share all the information that she would like to have the speakership to evaluate, and certainly we will take this with extreme importance.
But he's not making a big deal about it. Think about it. He's not taking it with extreme importance. Watch his expression.
I see that the honourable member from from Burnaby, New Westminster Burnaby, is rising on the same question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is related to the question that I raised last night.
Okay, so that's over something else. But again, he didn't actually apologize, did he? All he's saying is he's going to take it and as a note of like he's going to think about it. So what does that tell you? He doesn't care. And well, what can I say? That guys like him. Okay, now let's go with okay, I'm going to go with this fellow here. This is another one that Craig Fergus is stunned as he is forced to face evidence of parliamentary cover-ups. Oh boy, this is getting good, folks. This is you're gonna. So basically, there's more here. I mean, the Conservatives are going after his butt. They're going after Craig Fergus. And here we go. Just watch this one. Here we go. So this is what this whole thing's all about. It is contempt of Parliament and actually is contempt of him. But I'm not going to go there because he's got to be talking for over an hour and a half. I'm not going to hear about that one. But this is basically this whole thing's about. It's about contempt. Let's see here. Let's bring that one down. Save that one out. And let's see here. Unveiling corruption. Okay, this fellow here, this is actually it's called the Northwest Cavalryman. I'm going to add this one up into the room. Okay. Now, watch what he shares. This is interesting because this is what we're all watching. This is from yesterday.
Wayday's coming. Wayfair's biggest sale of the year is back for 3 days only, May 4th through 6th. Get excited to get up to 80% off.
Oh, yes. Plus, we're free shipping on everything.
Go on to do it.
And surprise flash deals.
What is going on?
All Wayday long.
My goodness, they're stopping me from actually cutting it out. That is stupid. This commercial. Are you kidding me? That was not supposed to come on. I was supposed to be going straight through.
Fresh tensions at Queen's Park.
No, that's not the one either.
Hey everybody, how you doing today?
There we go. Okay, let's go back again. We get commercials that will like suddenly slip themselves through. Wayfair also was part of a child trafficking one time, folks. So that's why I didn't want to play it, but they snuck themselves in. Here we go.
Well, the drama from yesterday just keeps going on. Today in Parliament, the first person expelled yesterday by Speaker Greg Fergus stood up and made an explosive announcement. Prior to being expelled, she withdrew her comments, the comments that got her expelled, and in keeping with parliamentary tradition and rules, that withdrawal should have kept her in the House. And she has a record of that withdrawal. However, the official record was altered. Is this criminal? Well, we'll see. Have a listen to what she has to say.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of privilege today to this
No,
fact,
we already know this part.
asking for the Speaker's message. Quote, blues are available while the House is in session, highlighted for you.
Somebody had gone into the blues and edited out those comments to appear in the official Hansard. And that undermines our freedom of speech here, as well as our privilege as parliamentarians. And that is, in my opinion, has done with intent and is definitely a contempt of Parliament.
So she has evidence that the official record has been altered. Altering an official record, well, that's pretty serious. That has ended careers. Should it end Greg Fergus's career?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know right now what his role in the alteration of the records were. Maybe it was somebody else. But who benefited from that? That's the big question. This at least calls for an investigation. I would say a criminal investigation. But that's just my opinion. I'd love.
Okay. Now we know I'm not the only one that's crazy. But that's exactly right, folks. You see, everyone, I've been watching everybody's editorial and what they're trying to do, talk about what's happening in Parliament. Now, sure, we are seeing it as a show, but the thing is that there has been too, like this one actually, Pierre suggests that Trudeau fires the House Speaker question period. There's actually, let's see if it's actually here. They're suggesting that he be removed from Parliament. Let's see if I can bring that one up. I don't want to take it too long. I want to drag this out because it takes a long time. No, I can't drag that one out. It's about an hour, 41 minutes. But if you guys get a chance to see it, it's called Pierre Suggests Trudeau Fires House Speaker. I will show you what it looks like, and you can actually go there yourself and watch and listen. This is one right here. So you get to see it. Check that one out. And on YouTube, it's worth your while to watch. This young man actually is a follower every day. Okay, I forgot what his name again. It goes by the name of House of Canada. He's there every day, and he watches this, and he shares with everybody what's going on in Parliament. Now, he's been a witness to many, many things and shares the stories. So he's not making any opinions himself, but he shares with everybody, lets them all know what's going on. If you look at the comments, it's like, why wasn't Trudy in shit for calling him spineless and shameless? 9 years and still waiting for JT to answer question in question period. Then this person says this wacko House Speaker should be neutral and belongs to no party. Question: if Justin had a child on drugs, would he give them more or get them help? JT owes us an apology. Trudeau says he will defend the rights of Canadians, so Pierre is Canadian. Why won't the Prime Minister defend Pierre's right to free speech? Fergus is one scandal after another. Boot him out. House Speaker is partisan, needs to go. This Speaker is so biased, he needs to go. So again, what I'm going to do. Let's see what we can do here. Just a little bit of this. I'm going to do there. Let's play this just a couple of minutes to see what happens. I never got a chance to go through the whole thing, but we'll just go a little bit about here, see when he stands up and see what he says.
before question period starts. But without further ado, let's get into this this debate here from yesterday. Just so everyone is understanding, this is the recap from yesterday, the clip that I'm about to show you. Just so we're all on the same page. I don't want anyone coming in here going, "Oh, I've seen this already." Yeah, I hope you have. I really hope you have.
The year following his decriminalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in hospitals, transit buses, coffee shops, and parks where children play, there has been a record-smashing 2,500 deaths. Will the Prime Minister accept the BC NDP's demand to recriminalize those drugs?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I just answered that question. What hasn't been answered by the Leader of the Opposition is why he chooses to continue to court extreme right nationalist groups like Diagolab.
White nationalist
He
groups?
refuses to denounce
Give me a
these
break.
extremists who don't believe Canadians should
Oh, a little crackle in the voice.
Instead, they call for war and tell people to follow their instincts accordingly. The leader of the Conservative Party is actively courting the support of groups with white nationalist views. It is disturbing, and he needs to stand up and apologize now.
Right now.
Colleagues, so soon in question period, it is important that we try to control ourselves. I'll ask the honourable member from St. Albert, Edmonton, please, to allow members to ask the questions and members to respond. The honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I always condemn extremism and racism, including from the guy who spent the first half of his adult life as a racist, dressing up in hideous racist costumes so many times. True.
Boom, boom, boom.
The honourable.
You can start to see at this moment, he begins to short circuit.
Yep.
And you can see it on
He's
his
glitching.
face. You can see
He's
it. Man. He's like,
glitching.
oh, shit, I don't like where this is going. Oh, my goodness.
Member, Leader of the Opposition, knows that to make an accusation directly at
An accusation.
of a single person is not appropriate. And I'm going to ask.
So, backstory on Greg Fergus. He went into this position because the previous House Speaker allegedly invited a literal Nazi into Parliament. And who did they bring in? They should have brought in a Jesus or a Moses, right? But they brought somebody who's sin-free is what I'm trying to say. Somebody who's got a clean slate. Instead, they brought in Greg Fergus, who has ethics violations. He's literally been in the no-no tank and got a slap on the wrist before for having ethics violations.
Yeah,
that's not how you segue out of bringing a Nazi into Parliament. So like right from the get-go, he was doomed to fail. And I believe I called it. Look, there's way too much footage to go back and to see, where I made that a calculated judgment call that Greg Fergus would not last more than 6 months to a year. I believe we're probably at the 6 month mark right now. And bada bing, bada boom, already you have massive Liberal spokesperson that are talking about his resignation. Not me, but you're going to see Tom Mulcair on CTV is saying that he should be, have repercussions, like he should be fired or he should resign because of what happened yesterday. This is historic, folks. I'm not trying to prop it up and blow it out of proportion, right? This is actually historic what happened. There's certain ways to conduct yourself in Parliament. Did Pierre breach parliamentary language? Yeah, I mean, wacko's been said before in Parliament. He didn't use like a slur. He didn't say, WTF, what the fudge, or where's the funds, right? He didn't play on words. Wacko has been used before by other people. Very bizarre for Greg Fergus to pick this hill to die on. And this might very well be where his career dies, right? Is on this hill today. Absolutely insane.
Ask all members to control themselves.
ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to rephrase this question and to start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, I will also condemn the extremism of a prime minister who gives hundreds of thousands of dollars of anti-racism money to a Jew hater who has proposed shooting Jews in the head. I condemn a prime minister who allows the IRGC, which murdered 55 Canadians, to remain legal. And I condemn a prime minister who allows open use of crack, heroin, meth, and weapons in hospital rooms that threaten nurses and on school buses next to children. Will the prime minister reverse his extremist policies?
Okay. It's always a commercial. Always a commercial. So let's come back here. Let's see what we can do.
Military gun. Is that why gun crime has risen by 100% since he became prime minister 9 years ago?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I will note, as did everyone in this chamber, that the Leader of the Opposition did not deny that he will be reversing the ban on assault-style weapons. He doesn't even think it exists right now. Well, Mr. Speaker, it does exist right now. It is illegal to buy, sell, or use any of those weapons. When the amnesty ends next year, it will be illegal to own them as well. We're giving an opportunity for people to sell them back to the government. That is what we are doing to keep people safe. That is what he will not commit to keeping.
Great, let's get some wackos in the chat. Let's look alive, folks. So it turns out that everything that happened today in question period was actually a bit of a tactic by the Conservative Party. And I think, now there's no evidence to back this up, but I think that the overlords of Parliament, whomever that is, it's not Justin Trudeau. There's no reason to believe it's Justin Trudeau. He's the prime minister, but he doesn't have the say in how the whole show runs within Parliament, right? I think that they really cracked down on what happened yesterday, right? With the whole wacko thing, extremists and radical comments, and then the walkout. And I think that they wanted to show Canadians that, you know, that it's professional and that it's not a joke.
So, you know, he's speaking clearly because basically this is what this is about. Poilievre went in specifically to clarify everything with everyone, like basically saying like this is today's parliamentary step up, and he was back in Parliament, and he was just still saying the same thing, repeating himself to Trudeau. And Trudeau actually said himself, he said that he was accusing the Conservative government for following right-winged organizations, that they are violent and monogamous and whatever, and violent, whatever, you know, like, not a bull crap, right? But this is what Trudeau was trying to use. He even went as far as saying that he was, this is what Trudeau says. He said that Pierre Poilievre was personal friends with what's certain interviewers. I'm not going to say names because he's already thrown it out there. Well, I'll throw one out there. He's basically saying personal friends with Alex Jones. Like, Alex Jones has no idea what the hell's going on unless he actually hears it, sees it. Anything happens in Parliament, someone will report it. Alex Jones actually asks Poilievre and see what happened. He shares a story. Alex Jones knows what's going on. Like, he's not dumb, right? But anyways, I just want to share that with you guys. So it is important for us to know what our government's doing. Everything that our parliamentary government is doing. All you see here. I mean, everybody, those who actually know what's going on, you'll see the drama. You'll see the clown show. Polyev is there for one reason, is to keep you guys on the edge of your seats. And pretty well, they're also calling out the BS on some of these people who have already been caught in lies, which are the liberal parties. There's a lot of people in liberal parties that have been lying through their freaking teeth, as well as Greg Fergus. Now, Greg Fergus actually got himself in trouble a few times before this, before he became now speaker. What this young man actually said regarding, for example, months before we actually had before there was another parliamentary speaker who actually invited a Nazi, SS Nazi, they call himself a Ukrainian freedom fighter. He's not a Ukrainian freedom fighter. He was part of Hitler's group. And they actually gave him a standing ovation. And so the thing is that what you guys don't know, that man that got standing ovation, that was Chrysler Freeland's great uncle in Parliament. That was her great uncle that they were doing standing ovation for. That was Trudeau's wife's grandfather's closest friend during the Second World War. And her grandfather is Hitler. So yeah, I'm not kidding you guys. It's going to get closer and closer. You're going to hear the truth even more. And why, if you guys are saying, well, how do you know all this, Derrick? Because I've already been sent the information. I've been shown this. It's not just me alone. There's many other people that actually know this. We already know that Freeland herself actually is a double agent. She worked for the Ukraine back and forth. She was actually giving secrets to Canada, okay, back and forth. And she's been handing secrets to the United States too, back and forth. This is before Trump. And so she's been a double agent for a long time now. They already scooped up the real Freeland. She's gone. This one here now is just a replacement to play whatever she's playing. This is a really weirdy one, but like you guys are saying, you're going to have actors and actresses replaced or come in to replace them. We don't have this Trudeau here that he has to go with the role. He has to play along. This guy here, they did a lot of hard work to get to get a proper mask to wear. And this one here, he's just an idiot. But everything has to be clearly seen because there are people that I know right now. I can tell you straight up. There's people I know personally that know who really Trudeau really was, who he really is, and they already know. These people that know him knew him personally said the one that's in Parliament is not the real Trudeau. Why? Because they knew him personally. This is not the real one. So they said he's not the same. Why do you think him and his wife separated? Because they never were together specifically. This was just a show because she's been seeing her doctor boyfriend and has been having his children with her, or I guess she's been raising his children. They're not Trudeau's, never was. Okay. Because we already know that he is on the other side. Okay. Let's see. Nancy says, and as odd as it sounds, many influential people in politics, religion, and business report to someone is in Antarctica the day after the 2016 U.S. elections. Our vice pres was down there reporting on the loss. Okay. And let's see here. Yeah, you're right, Catherine, and that one too. Yes, of course, she's related to. And is she now? Yes, she is, and she glitches a lot. Yeah, I'm like, you're watching some people that are CLON, or I call them clowns. We've had cloning organizations since, and they're actually, the clones are actually been made in Winnipeg. They've been going on since the early 50s, even before that actually, but they get really perfected. But you will start to see some people like they'll stop and all of a sudden they go, they're kind of glitching. Or I got a few of them I got one video of this one politician, his tongue is like wagging back and forth and his eyes are going like this. So, there are quite a few of them, but I already know that the real Trudeau is gone. He's bye-bye. This one here, he's just playing along, but you can tell by his ears and his teeth. He's not the same one. And it's just the way he looks different, way different. So anyways, I wanted to bring this up. And the reason why I brought up this whole thing up at the beginning is because Canadian history is very important for all of us. And that we're taking back our country. We need to take back our country. And many of you out there, you know, whether you came in the chat room for the first time, whether you're coming in, you're going, oh, here he's talking about this stuff again. Okay, oh yeah, here's one of those conspiracy theorists. Well, I am conspiracy factor, and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm a very spiritual person. I do love God. I'm actually doing God's work all the time. This is my work. This is what I do. But I've been chosen to help out, to help give people encouragement and stand up for your freedom and all that. This is what I'm here for. But it's important for all of us to know what's going on, because we need to be there to support each other. There are going to be some changes that's going to be slowly coming forward, and they're going to try to get you scared again regarding them. They're talking about the 15-minute cities again. They're bringing that up again. They're talking about, helping. They're going to try to bring the digital thing over again. And there's all these ridiculous things they're trying to bring forward to see how far they can scare you. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Now, one thing I will say that needs to be shared. If you don't know about it now, right now there's an island. I forgot the name of the island, but it's part of Montreal, and it's a French-speaking island. And they're actually on that island. There's about 1,800 people or so. No one's allowed to use cash. Everyone has to use a digital card. You all have to have passes to go anywhere, travel across the island, wherever else. They all have to go through all these. So basically what it is, it's the same China programming. They're trying to get people to go through with it, to follow through with it. And they're also threatening the people, telling them if they don't follow through with it, they're going to be charged, go to jail, or going to be fined. So, but why did they use the island, the small little island, to test on these people? Because it's a small area and it's out of reach to the land, other larger regions. So this is what they're trying to do. They've already done the same thing in Edmonton. They're working on Edmonton right now, people in Edmonton right now, to try and do the digital thing again. Don't go digital, folks, because that is not a good thing. You want to use your cash. Your cash actually is legal tender. It's the real thing. They want to control you and track you everywhere you go. There's actually talk about the electric cars, the EVs. China now, I've already shared that story with you guys before. China has actually already had well over 2 million cars laying in the field, brand new ones laying in the field. They can't work because they're burning up. The batteries are exploding. Same with the EV bikes, same with the EV motorcycles. Anything with the EV are not going to work. It's not going to. In fact, my wife told me today, she said there was actually a law that was passed in Canada. Who passed the law? Because I know Trudeau didn't do it, but they passed a law in Canada. It's illegal to drive, or I should say drive an EV car that's driverless. Okay. Now, why is it illegal? And it wasn't Trudeau that passed it, but somebody did. Who was higher up above him and said you can't do that? Who said that? I wonder why. Commander-in-Chief. He's saving your life. I'm not kidding you. Your commander-in-chief is saving your lives. He's actually above everything. He's above Trudeau. And always has been. He's the one that's helping this country out, but he's also getting you guys to wake up and open your eyes more. It's very important that we all stay in the know and stand up for your rights. Spread your love and light, and everyone you go to, it raises the world vibration and brings in more positive change, yes, and charge. It's true. Thank you, Catherine. It is absolutely. This is what we need to do, right? So, I mean, like I said before, I'm a very spiritual person. Let me tell you guys something. What I think is really cool. 2 nights ago, Spirit gave me this message for all of you, and all of you can actually look it up. I want you guys to look up the dream, a dream. I had this dream, and then I never even knew to know that there's such a thing as a flying cat. And there are cat with wings. I did not know that cat with wings do exist. Actually, to this day, they exist. And they have existed for many, many years. I dreamt of a small baby dragon standing next to a small cat or kitten with wings. And Spirit said to me that these are going to be very important for everyone to know. Okay. Now, they weren't challenging each other. They were standing side by side. A baby dragon and a small cat with wings that flies. A small cat with wings, and both of them are together. Like, they weren't facing each other this way. They were like this together. And they were playing, and their little wings are going like this, like they were just playing around. You guys, I want you guys to look it up on the dream meaning of the small dragon. Okay. Oh, by the way, the dragon was white. Okay. Baby dragon was white. The cat was not black. It was a multicolored, looked almost like it had fur wings, like, and it had little tiny pieces of feathers coming out. Now, when I went on the internet and I looked up cat with wings, this is not a drawing that someone had drawn. These are true photographs of real cats that did fly. There's such a thing as cats that actually fly, that have wings. It's a certain breed. I did not know they did exist, and still do exist. And they've existed for many, many, many years, but no one ever spoke about it. Why? Because they're afraid to tell you the reality of life. They think a cat only walks on all fours and that's it. No, cats do fly. They can fly. There's certain breeds of cats can fly with wings. So it's meant for all of you to know. It's not just for me, for all of you. It has a meaning, a positive meaning. And what Spirit told me, they said that many great things will come to all of us. And for all of us to celebrate that the white dragon and the cat with wings will come together and become one, as in family. So if you look up both of those meanings, white dragon, baby white dragon, and a small cat with wings, and you'll see. Now, the cat was not flying. It was standing, it was on all fours and was walking, but the back of its wings were moving this way. Okay, waving. But this is going to give you an idea what this is all about for all of us. It's not about me. It's about everybody. So, so I would say for everyone out there, I want to thank you guys for participating in this tonight. Sure, there are some politics here, but I wanted you to see what our Canadian government really is all about, because a lot of you Americans out there have no idea what goes on in our government. You know, like for a lot of Americans and the people from other countries, they have no idea what's happening in Parliament. But when I watched this guy, I mean, this fellow who's the Speaker of the House, I couldn't give a rat's butt about his color of his skin. None whatsoever. If he represents a person as a Speaker of the House. But when I watched him reach over and he took this piece of paper, like it was like he just grabbed the paper, and he just basically, the paper is already prepared for him. He was prepared to kick out Poilievre that moment. This wasn't prepared as in, okay, well, I need to find out, we need to make a decision here, and other people that are there. No, he already knew that he's going to be kicked out now, because he wanted him out of Parliament. He wanted Poilievre to make a mistake, so it makes him look bad and make the Liberals look good. But here's the thing. When you get a Speaker of the House keep looking to Trudeau all the time for approval, that's not working away, like you're favoring one side. Okay, if you guys ever get a chance, if you really want to see what's going on, look at 2 days ago. Look at the parliamentary and what had happened. You'll see that every time he gets up and he's smiling with Trudeau is just smiling with him, but yet when he looks at Poilievre, he never smiles. And you know very well that it's one-sided. He's favoring one side. He's favoring the Liberals. Always has been. He was placed there for a reason, to favor the Liberals. And he's placed there for one reason. So then Trudeau stays in, because Trudeau is trying to push a new election, but he wants to create what you call a race election. Like, I'm going to do it now. We're going to start we're going to do this now. We're going to do this now. And he's going to do it where everyone's gone on vacation. You watch. He's going to try to make this real quick, where people are going to be gone away out of the country on vacation. He's going to do it real quick, or he may be talking about having a lockdown, because Trudeau says, "Oh, well, how do you know? He may be having another second C." Okay. Well, what if we have another second C? Well, we're going to lock you people down anyways. We're going to do it for a couple of weeks. Oh, by the way, we're going to have another election. Watch. Okay. Keep your ears open. And watch with your eyes and ears. You're going to see what will happen. Okay. I'm not kidding you. Watch closely. You'll see. But if you want to find me, guys, if anybody actually is interested, want to get readings from me, I am available for readings. You can go to my website, whiteskycloud.com. If you want to call my number, I'm actually on Facebook. You can find me there with me holding an alien in my hands. Or if you're wanting to also find out what's going on with what I'm doing these days. I actually am busy with the Rumble. I actually take this recorded after this program's over. It's going to be going into Rumble, and there'll be a recorded show, and then it's going right to Telegram. Also, my page is called True North, Strong and Free, which I'm the original guy that actually had made my own page, and then everybody else started doing True North, Strong and Free after that. I started doing True North, Strong and Free back in 2019. When this whole thing began, and people came on board and go, "Oh, I do mine too." So I had to capitalize all the letters in mine to let them know, and I made my own banner to prove that it's a C, copyright. And you can find my pages on. I'm also on Facebook as well, True North, Strong and Free. I got 1,200 followers there, I think, around there. Which is, thank you very much, guys, for following me and knowing what's going on in the community. But I also I'm on True North, Strong and Free on Telegram, which if you really want to know what's really going on, the truth, at least you don't get kicked out. This page is actually controlled by the military. This is the military's page. They own this site, so no one can knock it down. No Google, no Trudeau, nobody. In fact, Trudeau was even trying he wants to shut down Telegram. He can't. You can try and shut down Facebook all you want, and you can't share anything from the media. You can try and shut down X as much as you want. You're not going to be able to, because you know who owns it, right? Elon Musk. If you want to shut down Instagram, well, fine, go ahead. They've already tried to do it before. And even on YouTube, they're not allowing you to. I mean, I have had over 20 strikes against me, and I've only got kicked out once. And I was not allowed to go on YouTube for 6 months. And for some reason, all I had to do is change my phone number and make it American, and I got back in. So here's a big heads up for all of you out there: if you do get kicked out of any of your social networks, all you got to do is go to Skype, buy a phone number, American number, under Vancouver, Washington. It's not much money. It's like $20. Buy the phone number. You own it. Make a new page with your American phone number on it. Drop in Vancouver, Washington, and your name. You got your own new page. They can't touch you because it's not under Canadian. You're under American. But remember this, folks, we've already merged. 5 of our countries have already merged into one. So it's not a lie. It's the truth. We're all part of it. Right? We're in it. We're in it for the good things. Right? And it's going to work. And I'm on TikTok. But people say, stay off TikTok. Well, I'm on TikTok. But I do mine. My TikTok is more of a promotion of the Commander-in-Chief. And if there are things that I see, you just got to watch carefully what you look for, and be one step ahead. Nancy says, please contact Rex Bear at Leak Project. He will love to work with you. Cool. Yeah, I love working with people, all kinds of people. You live in Buffalo. New York. Cool. I got another friend of mine living in New York. She's another medium up there. Actually, oh man, you would have loved Ron Bard. Ron Bard was very well-known medium in New York, and he passed away. Both him and I were supposed to work together in Japan many years ago, and just before they had the tsunami, and then he lost his life a year after that. But yeah, we were supposed to. The tsunami came, and that's where I had the nightmare, or the prediction that was going to be there was going to be a tsunami, and it happened after he got there, 3 days after. So. But he survived it, came home a month later, but he was never himself after that. Anyways, guys, be good to each other and love you guys a great deal. Take care of each other. God bless you all. And we'll talk to you guys next week. If you have any questions, you want to make contact with me, I do have a email, Spirit Chaser, with his number 1, Spirit Chaser 1, right? With the number 1, Spirit Chaser 1 at gmail.com. Give me a scream, and or if you want to stay in contact, go to my Telegram page. Find me there. Join the Telegram app. You're gonna be a whole lot happier and safer, feeling better. People love you there. You know, there's lots of things to do. I can pass you on some of the groups you can actually join and meet up some with great people over there. Anyways, take care, guys. We'll be good to each other, and we'll see you guys next week.
Everyone lives, everyone dies.
By the way, one more thing. I forgot. I'm going to be at the, let's see. I am going to be. Yes. I'm going to be in Chilliwack if you're in BC, I'm going to be in Chilliwack at the Rock and Jam tailgate sale on Saturday, May the 11th. Not this month. This is May. Yeah, May the 11th. Saturday, May the 11th, I'll be in Chilliwack selling my wares at the Rock and Gem show. Come get your butts down there on Saturday. You'll see you guys there if you're in the BC region. Take care.
Round the world, we're all alike. So why is it war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time? Brother, stop dying. Isn't it time? Mother, stop crying. Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, peace. All right, peace, peace, together. Peace.